Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Girl Take Note. I am Shaunie Sanders, and today we're going to be diving into a topic that I know so many of us struggle with, and that is self-doubt and that nagging inner critic. And you know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about that little voice in our head that tells you that you're not good enough or you can't do this. Now, if you've ever felt held back, that is, by self-doubt, then today is the day where I'm going to talk about strategies that we can actually do in order to help us overcome those overwhelming feelings. But you have the power to silence that voice and to rewrite your story. So today I'm sharing some practical tools that I've learned and mindset shifts that I've studied that can help really overcome that self-doubt and show up as our best selves. So as usual, I want you to grab your notebook. I want you to settle in because this episode is for anyone who's ready to stop self-doubting themselves and start stepping into their true power. This is Girl Take Note, a podcast for women who are looking to turn their dreams into reality. Now, before we dive in, I want to remind you that self-doubt is normal. We all experience it at some point if we're not going through it right now. But the key is learning how to recognize it and take control before it takes over you. That's the key that we want to deal with today. So, and let me tell you, that's self-doubt. Because you guys know I've been through a very difficult year before, I 100% understand how that self-doubt, that inner critic can come up and creep up in your head and just tell you, you know what, you're just not good enough. You're not doing enough. You're not where this person is. You still have a lot to do. As a matter of fact, you don't even know what you're doing, but this is what you're trying to do. I had to battle that so much last year because when you lose your job, when you're going through difficulties in your life, self-doubt creeps up. Imposter syndrome creeps up. It all creeps up, and then it makes you feel like that everything you work for, that you just lost, that you're a loser at some point, right? That's how I felt. I'm like, am I a loser now? Like, what do I tell people about myself? And so I was really beating myself up. And so what is that inner critic? Let's start by understanding what the inner critic really is. So it's that voice in your head that it's not some internal force, right? It's often the product of our past experiences, fears, or some limiting beliefs that we internalized over time. And maybe someone told you you're not cut out for this. You're too young. You're too old. You don't have enough experience, right? You're just not good enough you're just not what we're looking for. Because when it comes to jobs, they're quick to tell you that you're just not what we're looking for. And honestly, those words can really stick with us. And over time, they kind of morph into this persistent negative self-talk that keeps us doubting ourselves. And I understand that so much because, like I said, we're being laid off and looking for work too, and not getting a job, like going these interviews and not moving to the next step, or just not getting that call back at all, just getting that email that says, hey, we thank you for your submission, but you're really not what we were looking for. That is that thing that truly punches us in our gut. And now that I'm 50, now I have to consider, well, God, is my age a part of this? I'm competing for positions with people who are 30 years younger than me. So there's so much that went into my inner critic that really telling me that you're too old, you're not skilled enough. Maybe you don't have the skills they're looking for. You're just not good enough for this job. It's just not for you anymore. Maybe you need to change careers. Think about shifting careers. So it's been so much. So I completely understand what that is, but we have to truly understand how self-doubt affects us. And self-doubt can show up in so many ways. Procrastination because you're afraid of failing, second guessing every decision, or playing small because you don't think you're capable of more. And I know a lot of you probably understand what that playing small feel like, right? A lot of times we would dim our light just so other people can shine, or we will not go after a position just so someone else can have it because we believe they're just more qualified for it than we are, or maybe better suited for it than we are. A lot of us have dimmed our light for other people just so other people can feel secure, but not us. So for me, self-doubt showed up when I was starting this podcast too. And I thought, who am I to share my voice? Like, do people really want to hear what I say? What I have to say? What if nobody listens? Let me tell you something. If you are looking to start a podcast, that is going to be one of the biggest questions you ask yourself is, what if no one listens? But pushing through that self-doubt taught me that that inner critic is rarely based on truth. It's actually all rooted in fear. And that's the key that you have to remember. You have to remember that that self-doubt, that inner critic, it's just rooted in fear. It's not about truth. It's about something we think is happening, something we expect to happen, but it really doesn't happen. Something we think people think of us, but they really don't think that way of us. So that's that thing that we really have to fight. And the first step into silencing our inner critic is understanding it's just a voice, not a fact. And I think that's so important. You have the power to challenge it in every possible way. Another strategy that I've read that really helps, and I've been trying this, is called name the voice, right? So by naming your inner critic, you can give it like a funny name or something. Like I call mine Letitia, right? Letitia always got something to say. And it reminds you to separate it from your true self, because this is not somebody that you would truly be friends with. This is not someone you would truly say or listen to, right? For example, like I said, I'll call mine Letitia. So when that voice start creeping in, I say, okay, here comes Letitia. Here come Letitia again, y'all, with this BS now. And thanks for your opinion, Letitia, but I got this. And I know it probably sounds silly, but it really works, because when you can create distance between you and the negativity, it really puts you in a different mindset. It's like when you separate yourself from negative people in your life. You have to really be intentional about it and say, you know what? I'm not going to be around people who only speak negatively to me, who doesn't have nothing positive to say about me or to me or not encourage me. We all know who those people are in our lives. And so sometimes we have to fight off our own inner critic. Listen, the last solo episode I did, we talked about setting boundaries, right? Setting boundaries, what we want to do. And I said that I had to set boundaries even with myself. And so a lot of times we'd be at war with ourselves, not just outside influences. We'd be at war with ourselves. And we really have to fight off those negative thoughts, those negative feelings. And we have to be intentional about it. My key word for 2025 is intentionality. Being intentional in everything that I do, because that's what it takes in order to change behaviors. That's what it takes in order to see progress in my life. I have to be intentional. So here's a powerful tool. Reframe your negative thoughts, right? When your inner critic says, I'm not good enough, I want you to counter it with evidence that proves otherwise. For example, if you hear, you're not qualified for this, I'll remind myself of all the times I've risen to the challenge in the past. Reframing it is about replacing fear-based lies with truth-based affirmations. That's what it's about. Just come on, move that negative thought away. When it says you're not good enough, let them know you're more than good enough. The situation is not good for you. So you remove yourself because you're too good for certain things. That's what we have to do. We have to counteract those with truth-based affirmations. So make sure you remember that, because God, I'm telling you, self-doubt is like one of the main reasons why we don't take steps. We don't start that podcast that you probably always wanted to start. We won't take steps to starting that business. We won't go after that position. We won't try to rise in a company. We won't try to go after a bigger salary because we're too afraid and we doubt ourselves about it. So listen, sometimes the best way to silence self-doubt is to act in spite of it. And because fear thrives in interaction, but when you take the first step, whether it's applying for the job, starting a project, or speaking up in a meeting, you prove to yourself that you're capable. Because remember, confidence isn't the absence of self-doubt. It is the willingness to move forward in spite of it. That's what you have to remember. It is the willingness to move forward in spite. You have to do it. And that's what I mean. That's why having this conversation was so important to me, because I know we all struggle with that self-doubt. We all have that inner critic. I'm going to tell you right now, nobody can sit here and say, oh, I don't have that inner critic. Everybody has one. Everybody has that inner critic that says, yeah, I know you want to do this content creation, but your life is boring. What do you have to offer people? How are you going to come on and create content when you don't have nothing to say? You don't have nothing to see. Your house is not aesthetically pleasing. Those are kind of things that really creep up. Those are kind of things that do it. And let me tell you also, your environment matters. If you're surrounded by people who uplift you and believe in you, it's easier to quiet that inner critic. Like find a mentor, join a supportive group, or lean on friends who remind you of your worth when you forget it. And I'm grateful to have friends in my life that remind me of my worth. I'm grateful to have a friend that I talk to on a daily basis that tells me, girl, you can do it. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter your age. Anything we want, we can have. We can do it. We still have plenty of time. You need that kind of person in your life. You really do. So make sure you surround yourself with people who can build you up and not those people who can tear you down. That's why a lot of times they tell us don't share everything with everybody because not everybody got your back. Not everybody has good intentions. Because if you're already fighting your own negative thoughts, how dare you bring people around you who just confirming those thoughts, affirming what you're already thinking? No, if you're trying to intentionally combat those negative thoughts, that inner critic, then you need people who can help you fight against it. Whatever that inner critic name is, I tell Letitia, girl, you better get out of here. I ain't even trying to do this with you today. This ain't even it today, Letitia. Come on now. And then I have friends who kind of affirm that for me. So that's what you want to do. Building confidence and understand that. And although I'm saying this, but I'm still learning this because building confidence doesn't happen overnight. It starts by celebrating. It starts small by celebrating every win. Let me tell you a funny story. So I was working out this morning. And a lot of times when I work out, I have me and my girlfriend will work out together, meaning I'll just have her on the phone with me. She'll be at her home working out. I'll be in my home working out. And she said, you know what? We're pushing through. And I said, yes, we are. I said, you know what? Let's celebrate the fact that we actually got up and we did it. Because just a few weeks ago, neither one of us felt like working out and we didn't do it. Neither one of us wanted to do anything and we didn't do it. So let's celebrate the fact that, girl, we got up, we did it, and we finished it. We probably struggled through it, but we pushed through. And that's a win. And that's what I mean by celebrating small wins. Like I've talked about this so many times, and I feel like I really haven't done a lot of it. I really haven't done a lot of celebrating my small wins. And I'm going to do a lot more of that this year. I really am. So me and her just kind of celebrated and did a little dance at the end because we're like, girl, we did this today. We are good. Listen, we are gym enthusiasts. That's what we're saying to ourselves. Because no matter how minor it seems, you need to celebrate it. Celebrate every win. It doesn't matter. If you stepped out of your comfort zone, celebrate that. That's what celebrating with small wins. I stepped out of my comfort zone. I pushed myself. I did it in spite of me feeling fearful. In spite of me feeling awkward. I did it anyway. And if you finish the task you've been putting off, celebrate that too. Confidence grows when we acknowledge our progress. So practice that. Practice your self-confidence. Be kind to yourself. Instead of beating yourself up over mistakes or treating yourself like you would, treat yourself like you would a friend, like a friend who will come to you. Treat yourself that same way. Show yourself some grace. I beat myself up no more. I beat myself up so much last year that, I was unrecognizable to myself. That's how much I beat myself up. I beat myself so much last year because I was like, oh man, I'm about to be 50 years old. I don't have a job. Where's my money coming from? This has been difficult to do, but yet I made it happen. Remind yourself that everyone makes mistakes and it's part of learning and growing. That's really all you have to do. And take a moment each day and visualize yourself succeeding. Visualization is so important. I know I spoke to one of my guests here on the podcast, and he told me every morning before he gets out of bed, he visualizes what his day will be like. He visualized his day. He visualized how happy he's going to be, because that's the keys to happiness. He said, I visualize it before I even step out of bed. Before I get up, before I grab my phone and scroll down social media, I visualize how successful I want my day to be, how I see everything going my way. And I thought that was so important. So whether it's you like nailing, right, a presentation or launching your dream project, see yourself doing it with confidence. Visualization is a powerful tool that trains your brain to believe in your abilities. That's what it does. It trains your brain to believe in your abilities. You have to visualize it. Listen, if you are a religious person, it's all about faith, right? Faith is believing in things that we cannot see. And that's what visualization is. You visualize it. You don't know if it's going to happen or not, but it puts that kind of hope in you to know that you can achieve it. And that builds your confidence every time. So to recap, silencing your inner critic start with understanding that it's not a reflection of reality. Naming it, right? When you name it, reframe negative thoughts, take action, and surround yourself with support. And confidence is built one step at a time. So don't be afraid to start small. Don't be afraid to start small. Take some time this week and notice when your inner critic shows up. You have to really be in tune with yourself to know when it comes up. And I know all of us know. I know if you're listening right now or watching, I know you know when that inner critic shows up. It's that feeling you get when you feel like you're about to get out of your comfort zone and it stops you. It's that little voice that says you're not good enough, that says you can't do it, that says you're never going to do it. So notice when it shows up. Write down what it says, challenge it, and remind yourself of all the reasons why you're capable and worthy. That's what you need to do. Now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to end this show because I love how my episodes are short and sweet. But I want you to remember that you are not your doubts. You are strong, capable, and deserving of all the amazing things life has to offer you. That inner critic might be loud sometimes, but your potential is so much louder. So let's make 2025 the year we finally turn down the volume on doubt and turn up the volume on our self-belief. I think that's so important. Now, as usual, if this episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear about it. Send me a message on Instagram at Girl Take Note Pod, or you can DM us on any social platform, of course, and share how you're silencing your inner critic this year. You can drop comments down here on YouTube. You can drop comments on whatever streaming platform you may be listening to, but I want to hear from you. And if you know someone who needs a little encouragement, because I know plenty of people that I'm going to share my episode with that needs this encouragement when it comes to that self-doubt or their inner critic. So share this episode with them. It might be exactly what somebody needs. And as always, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, make sure you like, make sure you share, right? Make sure you subscribe, make sure you follow us on all platforms, and tune in next week for more inspiring episode. Until next time, I'm Shaunie Sanders. I want you guys to take care, take note, and keep showing up for yourself. I'll see you in the next episode.